Is so precious. His time has only just begun. He's your firstborn son. The story behind the song Firstborn Son is that it was written for and about my nephew Evan. And that's it. Just kidding. I have so much more to say about this song. And I have to start by saying I honestly believe that people should have children when they're younger. Not like teenage young, but younger, because as you get older, you start worrying about them more than you would normally do, I think, when you're younger. And I say this because when I was younger, friends of mine had kids, and I didn't think a lot about their future or what my friends were bringing into the world. And at one time, in a few months, my brother had a child, so I was an uncle, and my cousin had a child, and my best friend had a child, and I was Uncle Brad to all of them, and I love those kids. But it wasn't until my sister got married and had a baby, and I'm like, oh my God. All of a sudden I had all these fears. I wasn't even a part of it, but I'm like, that kid could be bullied, or he's going to be a bully, or something could happen to him, or what if has a different path he wants to take and everyone just makes fun of him, or he can't do things, or all these fears came to me. I thought, I wonder if that's how older parents feel. So that's where I came up with that. My big idea about people should have children when they're a little younger. My mom had me when she was like 18, and I'm sure that was very, very hard on her, but I kind of appreciate the fact that I don't think she had the bigger worries that she has now. And so that's just the theory. But anyway, so my sister got married and had Evan, and shortly after he was born, I went home to visit and to meet him, and I love that kid. Oh my God, his chubby little cheeks, and he was just adorable, and I just thought it was so amazing that this kid, all of it was more important to me. Like, I knew my sister since she was a baby, so it was weird to know that she had a kid and stuff. It was very different from when my other friends or relatives had children, and that I was the uncle too. But, so I came home and I immediately wrote this song. I had this acoustic guitar rhythm going, and I started writing, like, hold him in your arms for as long as you can, because soon he will be a man. And then from there, it just kept going. And the firstborn son part was never a big, like, I didn't set out to write a song called Firstborn Son. But it just kind of rhymed and went in the flavor of what I was writing as I wrote lyrics. Because basically all I do is write lyrics, and whatever comes to mind is usually really, really good. I will say that about myself. I can be quite clever when it comes to that. Like, it all makes sense and it all works. So it came to Firstborn Son. And then, halfway through the song, when I got to the bridge, I'm like, hey, my nephew Jared is also a firstborn son. And my cousin Paula's kid Benjamin is a firstborn son. And Zion is a firstborn son. And, oh my God, I'm a firstborn son. And so suddenly, then it got really personal because it was about me. So there's a line in the song where I said, if you are faithful, I know he'll be grateful. And so when I got to the bridge, then I put myself into it. And I said, I know I am grateful because she was so faithful, believing I could be all that I have become, whatever that may be. But I'm her firstborn son. And then I ended the song with, so here's to the firstborn sons. It's to all of us. And then I realized after, like, listening to songs, when I'm writing them and doing stuff, it gets confusing. I don't think as much as I do once they're all done and I hear them. And I realized this song is not really about us, the firstborn sons, at all. This is a song to my sister specifically. It's talking to her. And then it's talking to all the moms of the firstborn sons. That's really what the song is speaking to. And it's a great sentiment, and it's so nice, and I'm so glad I made this album of more personal songs, because there's no way that this song would ever have been made and put out by me on another album. It just is so beyond what I normally would do, but it's so nice, and I always wanted them to hear it, and it just took forever to get it done. Because actually, I wrote that song, like I said, when he was first born. And now he's 13, Evan, my nephew. And so my sister did hold him in her arms for as long as she could. And now she can't. But I'm glad I finally got it done. And I've always liked the lyrics, and I'm so glad that it was part of the album. And that this was actually a driving force to make sure that this album was released the way it was with all the songs I wanted on it. So then, musically, it's a little odd because the whole song, the bare bones of that song is this acoustic guitar that goes through the whole thing. And I listened to it for years, like I've been working on this song forever. And everything was fine, and then one day I heard a little squeak in the fret, like, zzzt. I'm like, where, what, how, I've never, ever heard that before. And I thought, well, most people won't hear it, but I hear it, so now it's bothering me. But then I had a listening party for all the songs that were going to be on the album before we started mixing them and really getting into it. And I thought, well, my musician friends will hear that. They will hear that fret noise. I know they will. Or the, I don't even know what you would call it. It's a zip, whatever. But I played that song, and some of them did hear it. And I still thought, well, most people wouldn't hear it, but once you hear it, that's all you hear. And it's a loop. Like that guitar sound that runs the whole song. It's the whole backbone of the song. You cannot get rid of it. It repeats repeatedly. So you hear that fret every 2 seconds. I'm like, great. Now I have to record the acoustic guitar, and I don't play it, and I need someone who does and who wants to play it for my song. And I just happened to mention I was talking to it, and one of my best friends, who is an amazing, amazing person, and anybody who's watching this that knows him knows that Alex Didio is one of the most amazing people in the world. And I asked him if he wanted to maybe do it. And so he said he would, and he learned it, and he played it. And it was so cool, because when we recorded it, my acoustic guitar on the original version of the song maybe had like an electronic thing, because when he played it, it was so raw and like fresh, and it was so neat. And I was, at the time, listening to a lot of Joni Mitchell, and so I thought, well, this sounds like that. This sounds like an acoustic guitar and us just hanging around and singing this song. And it was so neat and so raw and cool. And then, when I was mixing it, I had like 45 tracks of him playing the guitar. But at one of his tracks, he played it and then stopped and then started playing the song again. And when I was mixing it, I had that, and so it stopped, and then there's a break, and then you hear me taking a breath and start singing, because my vocals were isolated. I'm like, that sounds so cool. That sounds like we're just sitting in a room playing the guitar and singing this really personal, cool song. And so that's why I kept in what I call the false start of that song into the mix, because I think it's so cool. And you could take away all the drums and all the other stuff that permeates through the song later and still have a really good, fun song. And I'm so grateful that Alex did that for me, and it worked so well. And I'm wearing this shirt, I have to point this out. When Evan came to visit me once, him and his mom and family, we went to Venice Beach, which is one of our favorite places, and one of the people on the street were making these shirts. And I bought one for me and one for Evan, my nephew. And I also wore it in the Lonely Calls to You video. But it all worked that I bought it for him and for us, because I do love that kid. And I love all my nephews, and I love all the firstborn sons, and the song is so important to me. And Alex also is a firstborn son. So this is to all the firstborn sons. But most importantly, it's actually to all of our mothers. That's who the song really is talking to and about. And that is the story behind the song Firstborn Son. Thank you.